Remorse changes the heart. Remorse is a beautiful thing because it's divine. Remorse changes the heart. And the only change that's meaning or lasting is a change of heart. Change of mind is bullshit. Doesn't go anywhere. Change of habit, bullshit. A change of heart is true change, and it's fundamental change, and it's lasting change.
In this episode of the Intuition Incubator, I am joined again by Red Hawk. I want to let you listeners know that there's an invocation about 5 minutes into this broadcast that you're not going to want to be driving for. So make sure that you're pulled over somewhere safe to be able to participate in that. And if that is something that you would like to have a copy of, there's a link in the description of this podcast, and we will send you a copy of Red Hawk's beautiful invocation. Please enjoy the interview. Welcome back to the Intuition Incubator. For any of you who have been listening to this podcast, you may know that last year, my mentor recommended a book to me called Self-Observation. If you've been listening to this podcast, you know that I am obsessed with that book. And I asked Red Hawk, the author, to join me. And there's a fabulous 2-part series on that already on this podcast. Well, today, by popular demand, I'm bringing Red Hawk. I'm bringing Red Hawk back. Welcome, Red Hawk.
Abby, may I begin with several things that are necessary for my own well-being. First is that I am a beginner. And so you mustn't mistake me for anything but that. Please do not believe me whatever I say, please don't believe me, and please do not trust me. Do not take my word for anything that you hear. But if something resonates with you in your heart and in your being, then please begin to investigate that very thing. Begin to investigate and question, to experiment, and to verify for yourself exactly what is true and what is false, not taking anybody's word for anything, because that simply keeps me in the victim position, which I've been in all my life, taking other people's word for things. So that's the first thing, is that I'm a beginner.
Thank you.
And the second thing is that I may refer to myself once or more than once in this broadcast as a hopeless idiot. Please do not mistake that for me putting myself down. I use that term very deliberately and consciously as one of a scale of idiots, which Mr. Gurdjieff brought to us. And to find one's idiot is to help one begin to identify one's body of habits. Those habits which keep me enslaved in the egoic position. Just to give you a couple of examples of what a hopeless idiot might be looking at. One is that a hopeless idiot, of course, is completely engulfed in his self-importance. Mm-hmm. 2, a hopeless idiot tries the same things over and over and over and over again and prays for different results and doesn't learn. 3rd, a hopeless idiot refuses to acknowledge that he needs any help from anybody else and believes he can do it all by himself. There's many other traits of a hopeless idiot, but those are just a few. Yes, you're welcome. So wait. So there's one other thing, and that is when I begin to speak publicly anywhere, I have been tasked with my master, Mr. Lee Lozowick, and the master of our lineage, Yogi Ramsarat Kumar, to introduce to people a certain very definite practice, which is called the practice of presence, which consists of 2 things, self-remembering and self-observation. These are foundational practices for any other practice that one engages in. There are thousands of practices. Every one of them should be and must be built upon the practice of self-remembering and self-observation. If I'm not remembering myself when I'm doing any practice, I'm identified, and I'm lost. and the practice, whatever it is of very little benefit until and unless I'm present to that, to myself. So I begin anytime I'm engaged in any public presentation with the law of invocation. The law of invocation given by our good master Jesus was, where two or more are gathered in my name, there will I be also. And when any God-realized being uses the pronouns I and my, we know it's the divine speaking through that vessel. So the law of invocation invokes the divine help. And by law, the divine is obligated to respond, to enter into the space and into the hearts of those in that space and to offer help. So I begin with the invocation of the name of Yogi Ram Surat Kumar and Mr. Lee, which are the God-realized beings most immediately in my lineage. Yogi Rama Surat Kumar, Yogi Rama Surat Kumar, Yogi Rama Surat Kumar, Jai Guru Raya, Anjaneya Kepali, Anjaneya Kepali, Anjaneya Kepali, Jai Guru Raya. Now, what that has done is create of this space a sacred, divinely inspired, conscious, invocational work chamber in which help is available. And so, in order to utilize that help, one has to be completely present in the body. So as a beginner, I always begin at the beginning. Otherwise, I get lost very quickly, and I forget where I am and who I am. So the beginning always begins with the practice of self-remembering and self-observation. So if you wish to work with me now, please stand wherever you are, both feet on the ground. And during this process, which is a sensation process, sensing the body, please observe any resistance that might arise. That's always from one's ego center. Please observe any judgments, any negativity that arises, always from one's habit body. So with both feet on the ground, please simply assume an erect posture. And what this does when one straightens the spine is one introduces relationships. One remembers the spine. The spine is a whole separate intellectual system which doesn't use words. It's not like the intellectual center, which is words. The spinal center uses movement as its language and sensation. And sensation is the key to life, because sensation is what brings me to the present, out of the egoic structure, out of my enslavement to the mind and the emotions. Sensing the body. So erect posture. And Zen Buddhism calls erect posture the awakened form. Just this posture brings me out of my sleep, my unconscious, habitual, mechanical life. Because erect posture is not ordinary posture. My ordinary postures are limited in number and are accompanied always when there's posture. Posture invokes mood. So whatever mood I find myself in mechanically and unconsciously, there will be a corresponding posture which corresponds to that mood. Whatever mood I find myself in, if I simply straighten up my spine and remember and sense my spine, immediately that mood does not have the chance to steal my life force. So erect posture invokes mood And mood invokes attitude. And the right attitude for one who is engaged in this work is, Lord, have mercy, I wish to work. And that's what this erect posture reminds me of, is my wish to work, to be of use and to serve our Creator's will. Having an erect posture, then, center the head, balanced over the spine. Don't be rigid, be relaxed, but erect. And now it's possible to move attention, which is what I am. I am attention and presence in a physical body. The soul, or the being, I call it, is composed of two aspects, presence and attention. I am presence and attention in a mammal body, briefly. So as attention, I have a certain will called will of attention. I am able to move myself as attention down anywhere in the body which I wish. So do that now. Conscious placement of attention, lower, much lower down in the abdomen, out of the head brain, which is where I'm enslaved and entrapped most of my life. Lost in thought, which is another aspect of the hopeless idiot, by the way, lost in thought. Me, in my unconscious habit body, lost in thought. Thought is very, very attractive to steal attention and get me to identify, and therefore suck my life force. So erect posture, conscious placement of attention, down low in the abdomen. Now sense the breath. The breath is the love of God in me, in you. Breath is the love of God. We are being breathed, and there is inhalation, precious, and exhalation. And in a more conscious posture, then I allow the breath to go all the way down on the inhalation, not just shallow, tense chest breathing, but all the way down. And on the exhalation, I allow the breath to fall away and let go of it all the way down. And on the exhalation, you may notice a much finer sensation happening, which we call radiation. That is when the breath is taken in consciously and in the present, that allows the body to extract from the air a much more refined energy, a finer, subtler energy, which some traditions have called prana. It is the food of the soul. It is what allows the soul to begin to evolve and create a second body, which it can occupy then at the death of the physical body if it's completely constructed. And that refined substance from air is one food that the work teaches us is required to build this second body. The other food is impressions. And then physical food. Physical food, air, and impressions. Impressions are everything. All incoming senses, all thoughts, all emotions, all tensions, everything which arises in this world is an impression. And it is food if I am present to it and do not react or identify. The body knows how to transform the energy then and refines it and creates a much subtler energy of very high vibration, higher vibration than the physical body, a vibration on the level of the being. Sensing the breath. And now, if you wish, on the inhalation, say I at the solar plexus. Don't say it out loud, just to yourself. And on the exhalation, say am. And allow am to radiate throughout the entire body and into the atmosphere surrounding the body, which some call an aura. I am. And sense the radiation of this finer energy to all the cellular structure, feeding the cells, creating food for those cells to create a second body, an astral body, some call it, or a spirit body, or an emotional body. That atmosphere which is surrounding the body can be sensed by AM, and let that AM radiate into that atmosphere which surrounds you. It is a vibratory electrical field surrounding the body. I call it the atmosphere. And if one can stay in one's atmosphere, one begins to eat air and impressions and not identify, and therefore evolve as a soul with a soul body, an ethereal body, a finer vibratory electrical field, part of a great, vast, infinite vibratory electrical field, one point in an infinite field. We are a field in ourselves and part of a greater field. So stay in your atmosphere. The ego wants to hook the atmosphere to everything, every outside occurrence, every impression, every thought, every emotion. The ego wants to hook the atmosphere to that and therefore allow whatever it is that I'm identified with to suck that life force from that field, which is what I am, presence and attention. That field is an infinite field of conscious awareness of which I am a part. Now sense the whole body, head to foot, right arm, right leg, left leg, left arm, abdomen, chest, neck, face, skull. Sense the whole body and relax. And for the rest of this program, then try to listen from down lower in the body, from your center of gravity in the abdomen. Not from the head alone, otherwise it's just useless information. But to take it in with the whole body is to take in an energy infusion. Please be seated. Thank you, Abby, for indulging this hopeless idiot, because I have to begin there. Otherwise, I get lost very easily.
Oh, well, thank you for helping me find me at the same time. Yes, thank you very much for that.
Can you speak a little closer to the mic? It's not
Yeah.
easy to hear you.
Can you hear me better now?
Much better, thank you.
Okay. Okay. So I'm just finding my way
So what was
back here.
your experience? What was your experience right now with what we just did?
Yes, grounding is the best word for that, and just bringing myself to a hard stop at the present moment.
Yeah, I have to ground the charge, which is constantly running through the central nervous system. That charge is a divine descending love energy, which enters into the body. And immediately I identify with whatever that impression it brings. And I'm that charge, that energy is lost to me. When I'm present in the body, that allows that charge to pass to me as food, and I can evolve as a being, as a soul. Otherwise, there's no evolution. The soul is completely static and even diminished, weakened. And when I die, then if I am reincarnated, I have to begin all over again, assembling some semblance of presence and attention. So grounding the charge.
I was pondering this as I was preparing for this interview. In terms of the materialist view, why do we do this work? Why are we doing this? This is obviously a deep, deep practice. And for the layperson, which certainly we all are, but the person who comes to this podcast and is like, what is this about? This is interesting. Why do we do this?
So from a materialist point of view, because the work definitely is about material.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is a material. In this world, everything is material. The breath is material. It can be weighed and measured. Thought is material. It is an energy. Energy is material in form. All energy is material. All energy can be weighed and measured. All energy has a charge, negative or positive. This work is about using the material which life gives me in order to evolve as a soul. We come here to this planet, we are told, as incomplete souls. It is one of the few planets where the souls are allowed, given the opportunity, as an experiment by consciousness, to see if the soul can, by its own efforts and help from others, evolve and complete itself. So we are given 2 tools only in order to work on that evolution and to transform energy. That's how we evolve, is to transform material energy. All impressions are material energy. All thoughts are material energy. All emotions are material energy. Breath is material energy. Food, physical food, material energy. We're given 2 tools to transform that energy in order to feed the being so it may grow and evolve. 1, presence. I am here, now, present, in this body, in this room, in this town, in this state, in this nation, on this planet, in this solar system. I am present and attention. I am presence and attention. The being or soul is conscious awareness, and it is weak. It comes here to evolve, to grow in strength, so it may be useful to our Creator, to serve our Creator's will. So we are here to transform material energy and eat it. And by that transformed food, to evolve as a being. And the work gives us a roadmap for how to evolve, what's required of me as a being. And the work is all about creating awakening conscience. Conscience is the perfect guide for a soul wishing to evolve. So to awaken conscience requires that I be present to all incoming impressions.
But we don't realize that's what we're here for. I mean, that when we're living our lives and we're going through things, and I want the job, I want the marriage, I want my kid, this, that, and the other, I want this next thing, and that's what we're focused on, is the material thing that we want. At no point are we told, like, hey, you're a soul that's here at Earth School to evolve. And so this can often sound not very compelling to the majority, masses that are trying to learn how to get what they want in this life.
It is only compelling to someone who has lost all hope and is desperate. Otherwise, I will simply pursue my ordinary pursuits in my ordinary life and live and die unconsciously and without any idea of what I'm about, why I'm here, what I'm meant to be doing, and how I'm meant to be doing it. Only when I become absolutely desperate on my knees will I discover this help, which the work provides, which is self-remembering, self-observation. Otherwise, I'm not about to do it. I don't have any reason to. I don't see any reason to. I know why I'm here. I'm here to be happy, whatever that means. And for most people, that means suffering.
So this sounds like a really good moment to ask you to explain a little bit more. In the book Self-Remembering, you talk about 2 brains versus 3 brains. And can you elaborate on that as humans, what we have the opportunity to be able to do?
All right. As far as I know, we are the only 3-brained creature on the planet. Every other creature on the planet is 2-brained or 1-brained. I don't know about whales or dolphins. So as far as I know, we're the only 3-brained creature. Here's what that means. Sitting on the very top of the spine is a oblongata, a brain structure, which we call the hypothalamus, Hypo means beneath. That brain structure is a 1-brain creature structure. It's the brain of all lizards and all creatures below the lizard in scale, birds, fish, insects, etc. 1-brain creatures. That hypothalamus contains what biology calls the survival mechanism. It sits right on top of the spine, so it has a commanding structure. It commands the spine. All movement. Hypothalamus is direct access to the spinal movement. The survival mechanism is fight or flight. It is composed of a startle response. And whatever startles the mammal, it's prepared to fight or flight. What startles the mammal is anything that isn't expected. Anything it doesn't know from its stored personal history is a trigger to fight or flee. That survival instinct is always and only completely self-centered and selfish, period. It is I and only I and nothing else. It's survival. It is the first responder in any situation to any impression. It is always the first to respond. And its response is always selfish. Yes.
To any impression. To any impression.
Any impression.
Not even a scary one. Every impression. Not even a scary one. Just
every impression. It is the one that responds. Unless I know that, and until I begin to observe it and verify it for myself repeatedly, I'm going to live the life of a mammal, of a 1-brained lizard creature. My relationships are going to be on the level of a lizard without feeling, always looking out for my advantage, concerned with only 3 things: a place in the sun, sex, and food. And I can begin to see my immediate, self-centered, selfish response to every person, every relationship, every impression. If I want to know why my life is not working, why are my relationships suffering? Why can't I enter into a beautiful love relationship and maintain it without aggression, without hostility, without fighting? That survival response is why. Almost all humans on the planet live a life in the survival response. There are wars all the time. There's lying, raping, cheating, stealing, violence of all kinds, mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, all from the mammal response. If I want to live a different life, I have to begin to see myself as I am, not lying, not pretending, not imagining, as I am. I am living the life below the animal level. All right, then the second brain sitting on top of the hypothalamus is called the thalamus. The thalamus is called in biology the mammal brain. The mammal brain includes several things that the lizard doesn't have. One, nurturing of one's young. Two, a mothering instinct. Now, let's talk about the mothering instinct. In the female, one is born in that gender with the mothering instinct. In the male, one is born with the protective instinct to protect the mother. But this work, which is feminine in nature, this work, self-remembering, self-observation, is meant to awaken the divine feminine in all genders so that one awakens the heart of loving kindness. That's what this work does. That's what conscience is. Conscience is the heart of loving kindness. So that mothering instinct can be awakened in a man, male gender, woman, female gender, or any other gender you choose. It's all meant to awaken the same thing, which is the will of God, loving kindness, so that we can serve. All right, so on top of the thalamus is a third brain called the neocortex. As far as I know and can tell, and I don't know for sure, as far as I can tell, we're the only creatures on the planet that have a neocortex, called the human brain. Now, the neocortex is very interesting because it houses in it what the work calls formatory apparatus, and I call the memory function. The memory function stores the personal history of the mammal. I identify as a mammal. I think I am the body. And my whole life I live as the body, driven by the body's needs, wishes, and urges. So I'm living the life of an animal, a mammal. All mammals have the same kinds of lives. All mammals never think for themselves. They are herd animals. And if you want to see Mr. Putin, Mr. Trump, Mr. Netanyahu, and all these other villains elicit in their herd an immediate obeisance, obeying of the alpha, which is what the mammal herd animal always does. It always allows the herd to think for it. A human who thinks for herself is very rare and very dangerous to such a tyrant. We cannot be allowed to think for ourselves. So if, in fact, a person begins to think for herself, she has to be very careful and cautious. She has to have a good disguise. She has to protect herself. But she begins to see the lie that humans are living, including the lie she's been living all of her life. The thing about the memory function and the thing that gets us is the memory function can think and it can imagine and it can think about anything which is stored in its memory files. It cannot think about the unknown. Of course, how can it think about the unknown? It's unknown.
Right.
You can't think about the unknown. The unknown is completely unknown. It's beyond thought. So thought is always from the known, and therefore it is from the past. And therefore it can't love. Love is a present phenomenon only. It's a living, energetic phenomenon. This beautiful, good Master Jesus, one of his most profound teachings was to teach us what God is. God is love, but not love, not ordinary love, not sexual love, not romantic love, not emotional love, not mechanical love, not animal love. Objective, conscious love is God. Where is the domain of such love? Only one place. It is a present phenomenon only. It can't exist in the past because it's alive. Nothing lives in the past. Nothing lives in the future. The mind is a past future machine. It can't love. It can only be still and allow love to find me. All right, that's enough about the brains then.
So to really face oneself and begin to observe and see in yourself that my responses are selfish and they are about me, when you're talking about the mammal brain and we're talking about, but no, there's also a protective mechanism. We protect our children and we need to awaken that. How do you explain that?
The mother instinct is a function of the mammal. The mother instinct is protect one's young at all costs. The mother bear with her cubs is a dangerous creature. A mother wolf with her cubs is a dangerous creature. And a mother who is not addled by drugs or totally enslaved by fear will do anything, including give her life, to protect her young. So there is the mammal survival instinct, and there is in the mother love, which should be in all genders, this force to protect the children. Any creature who hurts the children is below the level of an animal, is on a lizard level. Any creature who does harm to children is living the life of below an animal. And you see that in our government. You see who's running our government. And not our government alone, most governments. We do not protect the children. Guns, violence, rape, murder. No health system. No care for pregnant women. Don't get me started.
What I'm musing about is how we bring this into our own work and begin to see in ourselves how we behave not very differently. So for example, if I'm come home and my husband looks at me sideways and I've got a response, that is the survival response. That is about me and my
action. All reaction is identification. All identification is the ego asserting its dominance and stealing my life force as a being. It gets fed, I dwindle. So the first thing in this work is to begin to make a distinction between I and it. It being the body and everything about the body. I being presence and attention. One begins to make a distinction between I and it.
One of the things in self-remembering is you talk about having 75% of your attention inside and 25% outside. And I don't know if this is...
roughly. This is just an approximation to give you the idea of the weight of where my attention should be.
And I don't know if it's in that same area or if it's related to what I'm about to say, but practicing, you talk about how when normally our attention is just completely an I. And of course, you're always talking about verification for ourselves. So
yes.
I started to think about that. And I was walking down the street one day with my husband, and I realized as we're talking, and I am totally talking on me, and I started to think about, okay, so let me put the attention on what I'm saying, but also on him, like more intentionally on him.
This is called divided attention, and it's true self-remembering. My attention is in two places at once. It's on myself and also taking in the person immediately in my surroundings. It's taking in all my surroundings as well. So I am in a place and I am identified as a being in that place. And so my attention is inside, watching, feeling, breathing, and also taking in my surroundings, including the other person. I'm giving the other person attention, which is, by the way, objective love.
And it's a total different energy. Like it feels
Absolutely
completely different.
And it changes the energy of the whole field. Present attention is objective love, is the love of God. So when I give present attention to anything, any person, the relationship is automatically changed, empowered.
And not just attention at, oh, I'm going to sit down into this person's eyes, but literally attention in the moment as I'm speaking to you. There's words coming out of my mouth. I'm aware of what's happening to me, and I'm tuning in or trying to tune in to the person I'm with in that moment as I'm speaking. It takes a lot of focus and remembering to do that.
That's why it's called the work.
Work.
Can I listen to you from a place other than encased in the mind? Can I bring attention back to my atmosphere, come down in the body and sense the body, and begin to take in all these words that are passing between us in a new way, in an unknown way, in a way which is not just mental? Can I listen and hear? Jesus, whenever he gave a Dharma teaching, he would always end by this very interesting statement. He made it over and over. Let those who have eyes to see, see, and those who have ears to hear, hear. So he's making a distinction between just listening, which is mechanical, and hearing, which is from the whole body. Seeing means I'm watching, I'm paying attention, I'm observing. Jesus is a workmaster. Whoa! Puts a whole new slant on the Gospels. Well, we're given these interesting stories about Jesus. We're saying he raised people from the dead. What does that mean? Well, in a work way, anyone who is identified and not present is dead, which means most of the world is walking around dead people. To raise somebody from the dead means I awaken them from their habitual egoic sleep, and they become conscious and aware and present. And that's what Jesus was doing for certain people. So it puts a whole different slant. And by the way, I'm not a Christian, but I love that good master Jesus, and I wish to live by his teaching, which was excellent, superb teaching.
We had a conversation last time about how this is not religion. It's very different from religion. Religion has judgment. There's a right and a wrong.
Absolutely. And there's no love in judgment. Judgment is a strategy to avoid relationship, period. And I am not religious. I am a spiritual man. I have a spiritual practice. And orthodoxy is the death of love. Love is not orthodox. Believe me, you know this. You've seen it everywhere you look. Love is not orthodox. Conscience always seeks to restore unity, because there's only one thing here, and that is the love of God. The love of God is all that is and all that exists. Everything that is the love of God. Conscience always seeks to restore the unity of that love, whatever it takes. So I won't say I'll never do this or that. I have no idea what I will do, but conscience will direct me, because conscience always points towards the heart of loving kindness. It always points in the same direction. Conscience is true north. Conscience never forces. It never demands. It's never aggressive. It does not speak. it only feels. So conscience always points in a feeling direction towards the heart of loving kindness, which is my true nature and your true nature and the true nature of everyone who tunes in and everyone on this planet, regardless of how bad they may look or seem. Their basic true nature, the nature of the soul, is the heart of loving kindness. We exist in the heart of God. So, what won't I do? I don't know. What will I do? I will listen, feel for conscience, and with all the power in me, I will do as conscience urges. If I am strong enough. Jesus did what conscience urged because he was strong enough to bear the negativity of others and allow himself to be made a sacrifice. I don't know if I have that strength. I wish to be as Jesus taught. I wish to be a servant of conscience. Lord have mercy. I wish to serve. God is love. I'm talking about love. I'm talking about objective, conscious love. Present attention is conscious love. If I wish to serve, all I have to bring to any relationship is present attention in the body, in the moment, aware of the inside and the outside at the same time. Present attention is the love of God. God is objective love. Or put another way, what is this God we talk about? Well, it is conscious awareness. The universe is conscious and aware.
So how do you understand atheists or people that say there is no God? That's or how can you be so sure? We don't know. Nobody knows.
Well, that's perfectly okay. They can think whatever they want. It's thinking. Thinking is not love.
Thinking is not love.
No, love. I can't think. Thinking about love is not loving.
Let's go back to that statement that you said that you talk about a lot. All judgment is a strategy to avoid relationship.
That speaks for itself. I don't need to elaborate on it. When I judge, I'm no longer in relationship. It is now I'm superior, you're inferior. I'm right, you're wrong. There's no relationship, period. Very simple.
When you say it's a strategy.
Yeah, it's a strategy of ego to maintain its supremacy.
To avoid relationship in that moment because you, on some level, are in fight or flight.
Look, the ego has one strategy, my dear, period. The ego is fear-based. The ego is fear in a form. The ego has one strategy, only one strategy, always to maintain its supremacy at all costs, period. Never mind its cost to you, to relationship. It doesn't matter if it kills you. It will always act to maintain its authority.
And it's nearly impossible to evade. It's always there.
Well, the key to what you just said is the word nearly. Because once I begin to understand the strategy of my mind and you see, it's not an enemy. The mind is not the enemy. The mind is conditioned by a small child faced with an impossible world. And that child has no wise counsel. That child has no wisdom guidance. That child is faced with the child comes in as the heart of loving kindness, period. And immediately is bombarded from all sides. And so it just takes it all in. And it begins to be bombarded with negativity, with judgments. Don't do that. Do this. Don't do that. No, don't do that. And that child begins to build a wall to defend the heart of loving kindness against any intruders. And that wall is called a self. It's composed of thoughts and emotions. It's composed of memories. And so it begins to build a self which is composed of a multitude of different I's. I want, I don't like, I wish, I don't like this, I like this, I wish, I want, I need, I. A million I's. And every one of those I's has the same strategy to get what it wants at all costs, and never mind the cost to you or anyone else. And this is what we call the self. The self doesn't exist. It's an illusion. It's all identification with those I's, period. It's identification with the memories stored in the memory function, the history of the mammal, the personal history that you have passed through. All that's what this so-called self is. It doesn't exist. You are a soul. You're not a body. You're not your thoughts. You're not your emotions. And I can begin to watch and feel and breathe all of these egoic strategies. And I'll get caught over and over. But you see, the child is not to blame. These strategies worked. You wouldn't be alive now if they didn't work. They were protective survival strategy, and they worked, and they're no longer useful. So I began to watch them, feel them, and breathe them, and not react when they arise. Not react when they exert their wishes. The thought arises, I watch quietly in a relaxed body. I feel the emotion. I breathe it all in. I exhale and I take in prana. I breathe this food. I begin to react from a still mind and a still body. The effort is to remain actively still inside, not passively still, because we live our lives passively still, which means every I that arises has its way with me. I become actively still by wish, by will of attention. I remain present when I can. And if I get caught and go back to my old strategies, perfectly all right. Something will remind me, and I begin again. And I begin again. And I begin again over and over 100,000 times, because it's not the child's fault that it was frightened and created this egoic structure. That egoic structure worked for me for a long time. Now it doesn't work anymore. So now I begin to dismantle it. How? Wind and water on stone. Presence and attention on ego. Slowly, slowly, in a holy and loving and feminine way, begins to wear away the ego. I eat the ego in the same way that the chick inside the egg shell eats the yolk in order to gain the strength to break through the shell. In that same way, wind and water on stone, presence and attention begin to watch the ego structure, begin to breathe it, and slowly, slowly consume it so it can break through the shell of ego and attain its true nature, which is the heart of loving kindness. It's a slow process. It takes enormous patience. One has to work. I can't go any faster than I want to go. It always works only as fast as I can bear it. And then I'll escape back into my memory. And then I come out and I venture a little further and I do a little more. And then I get scared and I go back. And this is a beautiful, I call it the dance with God. You understand?
Yes. One of the things that I see a lot and recognize in myself is that when that is not possible, the mind has gotten a hold and is identified with whatever is happening, and it's ranting and raving, and the ego is in its, even if it's just in your own head, the ego is going on about how this was unjust and this isn't right, or blah, blah, blah. And then the next phase seems to be tremendous judgment on oneself that they weren't able to be present in that moment and that they got sucked in and identified.
This is called the capture and consume process. And there's a chapter on it in the self-remembering. Capture and consume means this. I react to an impression. All right, that captures my attention. Now I'm identified. Either immediately or sometime later, I see that I was identified and I reacted in a way that I'm not fond of, and now I'm judging myself. That's the consume. That's the other half of the cycle. First, it has to capture attention. Then the judgment happens, and it consumes the life force, the attention, the force of attention. That's the whole cycle. The whole cycle. And I can see that action in myself if I begin to watch. I can see first there's a reaction, and then there's the judgment about the reaction. And that's the whole cycle. First the reaction, that's half of it. Then the judgment, which is capture of attention, and that's the other half of the cycle. It's a cycle, and it keeps me enslaved. It keeps me from relationship. It prevents love from happening.
It prevents love from happening.
Yeah.
Because you're not really present with anyone in that moment.
I'm not present. And there's only one place that love is present. That's the present moment. Love is a present phenomenon only. To be where the love of God is, I have to be in the present. The present is the love of God. Understand what I just said. The present is the love of God. And the love of God is always and forever changing and evolving, because the present is never this. Pythagoras said, you can't step into the same river twice. The present is never, ever the same twice. It's always in evolution. Love of God is in constant evolution and change. So if I'm going by rules, I'm not serving the love of God, because rules are from the past and they're trying to fix and make love according to certain definitions, and that's just the childish. That's childish. It's fear.
Well, I was just going to say, it's a very scary place to be in a moment where nothing is known.
Complete unknown. That's why the mind is terrified of it, because the mind is the known, and it's terrified of the unknown because it has no play. It has no place to stand there. It can't understand it. It can't control it. It doesn't know anything about that. And love is the great, there's two great unknowns. The mind fears both of them totally. One, love. Two, death. Total unknown.
You said that this work is, how did you say it? Learning how to die.
Yeah.
We work in life to practice dying.
Every moment is a practice for my death. I die in the same way I live. That's the law of death. The law of death is I die the way I lived.
The law is that I died the way I lived. Presently?
Period. So if my life is engaged in remaining present and serving the love of God, that's how I die. If the struggle of my life is to remain present as presence and attention, I will die as presence and attention, and death will just pass me right by. It can't touch me.
Meaning I can't fear it.
Meaning it can't touch me. I'm present and attention, and that presence and attention can't die. Because it's present. The present never dies.
Right.
I am presence and attention, period. And so my work here, I'm come to this earth in order to strengthen my presence and attention so that when death comes, it cannot shake my attention. My attention remains focused on the present. I'm watching, I'm feeling, I'm breathing, and I watch it as it passes. When you're right by, the body is taken, the Lord of Death takes the body, and I remain present.
See, this is when, like I said earlier before we got on this call, that there's a moment where everything feels so big.
You better believe it. I'm nothing, and the universe is big. And I have to feel my nothingness. Otherwise, I'm just kidding myself. I'm identified and imagining. I am nothing, period.
It's very disorganizing.
You bet. The mind can't grasp it. It's completely unknown to the mind what I've just said.
Yes.
I'm nothing? What does that mean? I can't think about it. I don't know what it means to think about nothing.
Right. What is nothing? And then,
Yeah.
then the mind though goes, well, if I'm nothing, then what am I doing? Why am I on a podcast? Why am I doing anything? What's the point?
Well, for me, and I don't know what the point is for you, the point for me is to serve the love of God, period. And to be nothing, to not interfere, to allow the love of God to manifest openly in every situation with every person, regardless of the content. Jesus is nothing. Buddha is nothing. But it's a conscious nothing. It's an active nothing. And
Yes.
it's not a passive nothing.
To me, it means alive. I mean, that word just keeps coming back to me. It's about fully alive in that moment.
Yes, ma'am. It's about being totally alive to life. It's about living life fully. I have a motto. Do you want to hear what my motto is?
Of course.
Okay. Live your dying,
Oh,
laugh your living, love your leaving. The person who is engaged in this work learns to act consciously in life. That is, the person does what's necessary and required and appropriate in any given moment. I'm at a job. I have to be a certain way. Okay, can I be that way consciously, present, actively acting out my part and not identified with that part? You see, conscious acting is different than acting mechanically, and like we see the government, people in government are just mechanical robots acting according to the herd leader.
All government, right? I mean, it doesn't matter what side.
No, it doesn't matter. It's all the same. And it's the same everywhere in life. People are acting according to a body of habits. They are acting according to what they've learned to survive. Okay, can I be aware that I want to survive? And in life, I have to do certain things. I have to get food, clothing, shelter. And I have to behave in a certain way to get those things. Can I do that as a person in the work consciously, acting a role, but always being governed by conscience? So in that role, I don't do what violates conscience.
So I have to tell you that as I was reading this book, literally, I was reading, and page 193, as I turned the page, it came out of the book.
Well, now right there ought to tell you something. That ought to tell you something right there, because page 193 is the moment that I surrender to its influence, self-remembering becomes impossible. That's the influence of what? The influence of the ego. Ego is a refusal to serve. The law of mechanical attraction. The moment I surrender to ego, self-remembering becomes impossible. My attention is locked onto one thing only, and I cannot remember anything else but the command of the survival instinct. Then we get into the three brains.
Yes, and I had...
If I remembered that page right, I'm just recalling from memory. If I got it right?
You did. You remembered it right.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, man. I'm just
Are you
kidding.
looking at the
I mean,
book?
I turned to it immediately and read from it.
I was like, oh my God, this guy's
Oh my
spilling
God, you
something
remembered
else.
it word for word.
I had written some notes at the top of this that food for the higher is the finer energies created from when we have conscience. And then slowly it begins to dawn on me that I do not work for myself alone, but for something so large that it cannot be named. And then you start talking about
Absolutely.
maintenance.
Yeah, we are here to serve that entity, that large, I'll call it conscious awareness, which is the universe is conscious and aware. We are here to serve that loyally and allow that love to manifest through me every moment without interference. Well, that's a big aim. So my aim is to allow that as much as I possibly can. And when I miss the mark, I feel remorse of conscience, and conscience redirects me to begin again with the heart of loving kindness. And I miss the mark. I feel remorse of conscience, which is how conscience doesn't judge. Conscience only suffers. And it suffers remorse. And remorse changes the heart. Remorse is a beautiful thing because it's divine. Remorse changes the heart. And the only change that's meaning or lasting is a change of heart. Change of mind is bullshit. Doesn't go anywhere. Change of habit, bullshit. A change of heart is true change. And it's fundamental change, and it's lasting change. And my change of heart happened because of remorse of conscience. The harm I did to my children and people I loved. It changed my life, that remorse. Thank God for remorse.
Changed your heart.
Say something outrageous.
Okay.
I'm going to say something outrageous. Love is not a feeling. Love is an action.
Mm-hmm.
Love is a commitment. Love is a practice, and the feeling may or may not be there. Sometimes it'll be there, sometimes it won't. But if the commitment of my life is to that practice, then love is an action, and my action mirrors conscience. The feeling comes and goes.
But when you're talking about being of service, reciprocal maintenance, we're here to be of service. And so many of us, I think, really, really want to be that and to do that.
Yeah.
And yet it feels very elusive. Like you don't know, well, what does that mean? I don't know what that means. I'm moving, I'm acting, I'm taking steps. But in a quiet moment, if I'm going to go into a deep meditation, the ego wants to be shown. Show me what it is that I'm meant to do. Show me what I'm supposed to be seeing that I'm not seeing. I'm here to serve you. And there's like the ego demands some type of information, some type of sign. And then you've separated yourself from love again, right?
Conscience, which is in all of us, but it's buried. And it has to be slowly, what's burying it has to be moved aside so that it can have air to breathe. Conscience is the will of God in me. If I want to know what it means to serve the will of God, I just have to simply do what conscience urges. I am here to serve the will of God, period. I am nothing, empty, a hollow vessel. And this so-called self is illusion. It's imaginary. It's all identification with different eyes. It's all identification with the ego structure. There is no self. Red Hawk doesn't exist. There is no Robert Moore. All illusion, all identification, all imagination. I am an energy transformation instrument meant to transform coarse energy into finer energy, which is the love of God. It's meant to radiate out from me and emanate from me. as the love of God. This is a
literally,
big thing. Where I am now, that's very difficult because I'm just an ordinary, hopeless idiot. I'm just a beginner. I'm not saying I'm doing this all the time, and don't get the mistake about me that I'm doing this all the time. I get caught, sucked in, I get identified, I get carried away, and I remember, I feel remorse, I come back, there's judgment, I don't go with the judgment. I watch, I breathe, I feel, I watch, I watch, I watch. I watch the whole show pass through. It's just a traveling clown show, and it passes through. It's going down the street, and I'm on the sideline watching it. Here's the elephants. Look at the clowns stepping in the elephant shit. That's yeah. You understand? I'm not something special. I'm not able to do all the time what I'm suggesting that we are here to do. But I know what my aim is. Lord have mercy, I wish to work. My aim is to work, and the aim of my whole life is loving kindness, period. Everything else, nothing supersedes that. It supersedes all other behavior. Loving kindness is my sole aim.
So can you talk a little bit more about being an energy transformer and the finer energies? What does that mean? The finer, like when we're very present, we have a finer energy. What does that mean?
Everything is impressions. Everything that comes in from outside is impressions. Everything that arises from inside is impressions. Impressions are energy. They're material in form. They can be weighed and measured. So finer energy means that all of these impressions are coarse energy. They're very low vibration. The moment they come in, if I have in place a guardian in the head brain, and my attention is in the abdomen, so two places at once, head, brain, and abdomen. The impression comes in from outside or arises from inside. It's a very low vibration. If I don't interfere with that energy, it's all energy. There's only energy. Everything is energy. Stone's energy. Tree is energy. Air is energy. Breath is energy. Thought is energy. Emotion is energy. The body is energetic phenomenon, period. Okay, if I don't interfere with the energy, the body is made to be a transformational instrument. It knows how to transform that energy if I don't interfere. And it takes the energy it receives, it runs it through the central nervous system. That energy is refined. The finer elements in that energy are extracted and sent to the cells. A portion of it stays in the body, 25%, let's say, just roughly. 75% of that transformed finer energy is radiated out of the body and feeds the earth and all those entities above us in scale, angelic beings, all the way to our Creator. It feeds the creation. So I am fed and I feed, the law of reciprocal maintenance. I don't interfere, the body transforms the energy. The moment I interfere, then the ego gets the energy and it extracts it from my life force. If I don't interfere with incoming impressions, then the body extracts that energy and the being is fed and evolves. Is that clear what I've just said? To experience the world is to be focused in and out at the same time.
But the
not
way to
just
feel.
inward. Not because most people are either 100% inward identified or 100% outward identified. The work is to be 75% inside, 25% outside, taking in life, being in life, experiencing life, but not identified.
When we talk about how messed up our world is that we're in, and we're focused on all of the horrible things that are going on, and we're not looking at our own self-importance, our own, the way in which we are divided internally inside ourselves. When you said that, I'm thinking, if I'm working on me and you're working on you, and someone listening to this is working on them in doing this work, the only thing, the world, we will heal the world. That's, as opposed to thinking and thinking and thinking about what we should do to solve this problem or that problem.
I eat the world. I eat the mind. I eat life. For most human beings, 99.9%, life eats me. The work reverses the process. Yeah, good place to end.
Oh my gosh. Can I ask you a couple more questions?
What'd you say?
I want to ask you a couple more questions. Can I? Do you have a
Okay.
minute? I'm curious about, two things really. Forgiveness, self-importance, specifically as it relates to self-loathing, and feminine and masculine energies, active, passive. So choose what is most interesting.
Forgiveness. Forgiveness. I am given two means of maintaining loving relationship to the end: apology and forgiveness. The ego refuses both of those. They have to be a commitment and a practice, even when the feeling is not there. All right, so the ego says, well, I can't forgive that. What that person did is unforgivable. That's when I forgive. I forgive the unforgivable. Jesus says, his disciple says, how many times must I forgive, Master? Jesus says 70 times 7, which means forever.
Mm.
The greatest food for the soul's evolution is apology and forgiveness. It has to be a commitment and a practice when the feeling is not there. And look, forgiving others is not excusing others. It's not the same thing. What they did may be absolutely inexcusable. There's no excuse for her having done that to me or to so-and-so, to her. No excuse for Putin slaughtering millions of people. Forgiveness is not excusing. Forgiveness is understanding. I understand what humans are doing is completely unconscious. They have no idea. Jesus says on the cross, Father, forgive them, they know not what they're doing. We don't know what we're doing. We have no idea what we're doing. We think we know. We don't know. Conscience knows. Conscience is true knowing. The mind can't know. The knowing of the mind is all from the past. It's stored information. It's borrowed knowledge. Forgiveness is what conscience asks me to do. No love relationship can survive unless forgiveness happens all the time. I adore my wife. We are at the stage of our love relationship where we have reached the stage of adoration. It didn't begin there, but that's the evolution of the love relationship. All right. She does things which bug the hell out of me. Am I going to get judgmental and offended? Yes. And that offended is self-importance. It has nothing to do with my adoration of her. And the moment adoration is in any way disturbed between us, we immediately begin again. Whoever can says, can we begin again? And we touch each other. The touch grounds the charge. If it's a small offense, we can hug. If it's something much larger to my ego and I'm totally offended, okay. But when she says, can we begin again? The agreement is yes. And we touch. I may hold her hand on her shoulder. We may embrace if we can, but we begin again. And where do we begin from? We begin from adoration. That's forgiveness. Forgiveness understands the other doesn't know what they're doing and can't help it. They're a machine. They're a robot. They're a mammal driven by mammal behavior. They have no possibility of doing anything other than what they're doing, and what they're doing is perfect for them. They're a perfect asshole. They're a perfect monster. Perfection is everyday action. Every action is perfect according to that being and what they need in order to evolve as a soul. And my judgment has no relevance whatsoever. Okay, now apology is different. Here's how apology works. When I have gone against conscience, against loving kindness, I suffer. Conscience suffers, remorse. As quickly as I can, I apologize and make amends and restore relationships. Conscience is always about restoring relationship. Conscience is always about restoring relationship. Apology restores relationship. Doesn't matter if the other person accepts my apology. I take care of my behavior. That's all I can do. Forgive, I don't have to say to the other person, I forgive you. I do it inside. All right, so when apology happens, I have done what I need to do to restore relationship. Forgiveness happens. All right, that's the first stage. Is inside I say, I forgive you. And I use the forgiveness prayer. Lord, help me forgive. It's not once and done. It's never once and done. It's ongoing. It's all the time. Lord, help me forgive. All right, the second thing is, and this is the hard part, that's the external part. The internal part is, whatever the offense was, I don't ever mention it again. Because the moment I mention it, I'm trying to elicit your teaming up with me against this person who was such an asshole. So I keep it close to my vest. And every time it arises, I keep saying, Lord, help me forgive. And I keep doing that until when it arises, there is no longer a charge in the central nervous system. When it arises and there's no charge, that's called forgetting. Forgive and forget. Well, I can never forget the offense. No, when I keep forgiving it over and over, and listen, I'm going to tell you, there are things which have happened in my life which I'm still forgiving because they arise all the time, and there's still a charge in me. And my commitment of my life is to forgiveness. It's my practice. All right, now you said that's two things. Now you talk about male and female. What's your question?
This active and passive, and how active force translates into masculine energy.
Active and passive are not gender specific.
Okay.
All right, so in the mammal world, males are active and females are passive. In the conscious world, active and passive only happen as they're appropriate in the moment to whatever's arising. So, for example, I am offended in the moment by somebody else's behavior. I become actively passive. That is, I don't react and I don't judge. I'm actively passive. It's an act of will. Something arises and conscience dictates that I do a certain thing. And it may not be what ego wants to do at all. The ego doesn't want to forgive, but conscience urges me to forgive. I become passively active. I accept what conscience is directing me, and I act accordingly by forgiving or apologizing. I'm passive to conscience and active in what's required of me. Or I'm actively passive. Somebody offends me, judgment arises, I am actively still inside. I don't react. I don't do what it requires, what it's demanding. Ego demands that I react. I don't do it. I'm actively passive. So you understand? You understand,
Yeah.
Abby? Active and passive in the conscious world, in the world of the work, are what's required and appropriate in any given moment. In the mechanical world, they're defined by certain genders.
What I'm thinking about is that oftentimes it can feel like you're taking action, but you're being reactive.
And I
And
have to learn to distinguish between those two by self-observation. I have to begin to learn the difference between reactive and active. It's a good distinction you make, by the way.
Yes.
Action is always from the ego. Action
Right.
is from conscience.
Okay, last thing then. Can you talk a little bit about self-importance? We can go.
What about self-importance?
Well, you talk about self-importance in the form of self-hatred.
Oh, no, that's only one part. There's self-importance, which makes me a great, a heroic figure. There's self-importance, which makes me an abject failure and a piece of crap. That's two ends of the same stick.
For example, if I beat myself up over and over again about something.
That is self-importance. Yes. I'm the center of the whole thing. If I'm the center of everything, I'm self-important.
Right. And why would I beat myself up unless I'm the center of everything?
Yeah. It's all about me. Everything's about me.
Yeah. All right. What would you like to leave us with today?
I love you. I really do. I respect you. I love what your effort is in life. I love that you are trying to be a person who tries to awaken in people intuition. Intuition, by the way, is higher intellectual center. And inspiration is higher emotional center. So, you know, I respect a lot what you're trying to become and your efforts, despite your fears. I watched you doing some TED talk and I just think the world of you. And here you are interviewing this helpless idiot who shouldn't be believed or trusted by any stretch of the imagination, but you are searching and questioning, and Abby, good for you. So I leave you again with my motto: live your dying. Every minute we're dying. Every minute we should be living. Live your dying. Laugh your living. Love your leaving. And in all circumstances, loving kindness is the only appropriate response to this world and this life. Everything else is ego, is fear. Fear. Loving kindness is the soul's nature. Everything else is fear.
Yeah.
How's that for ending?
I love it. And I love you. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Intuition Incubator. Again, remember, if you would like a copy of the invocation that Red Hawk gave us at the beginning of this episode, there is a link in the description in the show notes, and we will send you a copy so that you can do that on your own anytime you'd like.